My fellow Americans, in my first address, I outlined the troubling facts surrounding our fiscal crisis in America and challenged Washington to change the way they are going about fixing our country. Now, today, our former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Michael Mullen, stated that the greatest threat to our national security is our national debt. The children of tomorrow are concerned that this country is facing economic destruction on its current path, and the facts outlined in today's address support that conclusion. So, Mr. President, on behalf of all of the children of tomorrow, let me reiterate their message to you. Shift the way that you and your lawmakers are going about solving this debt crisis because it is not working. The first step in creating an effective debt reduction strategy is to lay out all the facts. The children of tomorrow would like for you to deliver to the American people a message on Tuesday, January 29th, 2013, when you address the country in your State of the Union address. The message that they would like delivered is simply the truth. We will be listening for that truth because we now know what that truth is. I, Christopher Riley, will share with the American people today what I would do in trusting them with the truth. I believe in the American people, and I believe that withholding this information is not giving them credit that they deserve. They will rally around the truth. They will be resilient. They will not falter. And they will defeat this enemy that Admiral Mullen has stated is the greatest threat to our national security. Mr. President, please, for the sake of the future and for the children of tomorrow, here is what the American people deserve to hear from you on January 29th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans, I wish I could address you tonight with news of abundant prosperity and positive reports on the state of our fine nation. But it wouldn't be fair to keep acting as though everything is fine in this country, because it's not. In Washington, those of you that do not have to navigate these choppy political waters may not understand how we can remain gridlocked on important topics such as our budget and our national debt. However, this is the way that our two-party political system was built. It is a tug of war here in Washington, and both sides are pressured to keep tension on their side of the rope in fear that if they do not keep pulling, the other side will pull everyone across the line and compromise values that have been fought for over the centuries since our country was founded. That system has worked in the past, and our two-party system has built a nation with a $16 trillion gross domestic product, the greatest economy in the world. However, we have now accumulated $16 trillion in debt as well, and our entitlement programs are fiscally out of control. Our fine trustees of our Medicare and Social Security trust funds have warned us for years that those programs are unsustainable, and I cannot ignore their warnings any longer. You deserve to know the truth. Today, they have calculated that we are $36.8 trillion short of what we need to fulfill our promises to American retirees in the future. It is my job as your elected commander-in-chief to bring both sides together, to drop the rope, and wage a war that should have been initiated many years ago to resolve these issues. I'm not talking about a war that will put more of our fine soldiers' lives in jeopardy, or a war that will cost the American people more money. I'm talking about waging a war on our national debt. Our founding fathers didn't lay their lives down, so 230 years later we could jeopardize our country's independence by irresponsible spending and partisan tug-of-war games. And as much as I disagree with certain initiatives from the Republican platform, I am asking my Democratic constituents to lay down their weapons and work with me to fight one of the ugliest Cold War battles this country will ever face. A war on debt that will require sacrifice from all facets of the country. Politicians will have to compromise on areas they have committed to their supporters they would never compromise on. Republicans will have to rethink tax reform, defense spending, tax loopholes, and other areas that they have been so diligent in fighting over the years. Democrats will have to readdress health care reform, entitlement spending, and nothing has been more sacred to the Democratic leaders than ensuring that our social insurance and welfare programs continue and our seniors are taken care of when they retire. However, if we do not address the gigantic deficit in our Medicare and Social Security trust fund accounts that have risen to catastrophic proportions, there will not be any more debates on how we take care of our seniors and most vulnerable citizens, as those programs will have consumed our entire federal budget, and America will watch these programs fall. America, listen carefully. If we do not make changes to our entitlement programs immediately, our country and its sustainability will be in jeopardy. On its current path, in 2018, our disability insurance fund will exhaust. In 2024, the Medicare hospital insurance fund will be depleted. And in 2033, when the children of tomorrow of this fine nation start graduating college, they do not want to see our Social Security system collapse because 21 years earlier, our political leaders could not come to a compromise. We must act now. We must act swiftly. We must be prudent. And we must act together for the protection of our future citizens and our fine nation. Tonight, I am not going to talk about the housing situation or the manufacturing figures or the unemployment rate or interest rates or the Department of Education. I'm not going to introduce you to individuals that represent a facet of our nation that helps bring applause and comfort. And I'm not going to tell you that our country is in good shape. I wish I could tell you about those items, and I hope to one day, because they are important to me. Because I do not want to ignore the fact that none of those items will matter if my constituents sitting in this chamber tonight and I do not come together and resolve our fiscal crisis once and for all. Our great nation could suffer consequences of catastrophic proportions. And lastly, I'm not going to talk about ending any wars, because I'm just about to start one. Tonight, members of Congress, I invite you to join me in waging a war on our national debt that will restore the sustainability of our country and ensure that we remain the greatest superpower in the world. And finally, my fellow Americans, we will require your cooperation. Tax rates will need to go up because we can't right this ship without increasing revenues, and taxes are where this country gets its revenues from. Spending cuts across the board will be required because we can't put this country back on a sustainable path, spending 25% of our gross domestic product every year. We need to reduce spending by $800 billion from all areas of the budget. If you can agree to that, I have asked our leaders here in Washington to join me in laying down our weapons. And instead of both sides asking the other to compromise, I am asking that all parties compromise. And then together we can rebuild America one sustainable community at a time. Before I close with those familiar words that Americans hear at the end of every State of the Union address, I want to pay specific attention to just who we are asking to bless the United States of America. If we are going to say it, if we are going to acknowledge a God, we should believe it and we should live it. If you are a spiritual person and you believe that asking for guidance, courage, and wisdom is the right thing to do when times are rough and solutions are scarce, then I ask you to join me in this closing. God bless you. God bless the children of tomorrow, and God bless the United States of America.
My grandma and your grandma were sitting by the fire. My grandma told your grandma, I'm gonna set your flag on fire. You're talking about hey now, hey now, Aiko, Aiko, ande, Giacomo Fino, anane, Giacomo Finane.